In this episode of Highlight Sundays, the show turns 1. Hello and welcome back to Highlight Sundays. It is the 17th week of 2013, and yes, 52 weekends ago, well, we opened up this show. It's been a year and 1 day, but well, 52 weekends. I know I skipped some episodes, but yes, this show has been around for a year. But we'll keep the rest of this to the end of the show, so let's jump right into this week's highlights. No PSA this week, just talk about random electronic devices. I'm sure you like that. So let's start off with this article from Engadget entitled Sony's digital recording binoculars score a huge boost. So here's the deal, you know I'm quite into cameras and stuff like that, but I've never actually went ahead and explored, the land of recording binoculars. Well, this kind of technology actually exists. And according to this article, you can see that this binoculars is actually quite a pretty powerful camera as well. In fact, it allows up to 1080p 60 frames per second recording in 3D, of course because there are 2 image sensors which will give you a combined 3D image, and is capable of shooting up to 20.4 megapixel still images. So actually a very powerful camera, which is probably why it costs $2,000. But hey, 1080p 60 frames per second is a pretty big deal. So if you're interested in this, feel free to check out the article in the video description. And more news about cameras. In this article, we look at Panasonic's 16 megapixel Lumix G6. So this camera was very recently announced. It is a 16 megapixel camera capable of shooting 1080p 60 frames per second video. I'm glad to see this is creeping into more and more consumer devices because 60 frames per second is a very useful frame rate. Also following the trend, this camera has a full swivel touchscreen. Apparently this touchscreen will also allow you to do focusing kind of like, the way you do it on your phones. And supposedly, its selling point is it will do this in a professional red focus manner. According to projections by the article, they hope it costs far less than its predecessor, which retailed at $1,500. So if this camera manages to crush that price point down further, it could actually prove to be quite an attractive option. Now, if you follow my work long enough, you probably know I have quite the obsession with Palm, the relatively recently defunct company which was bought over and massacred by HP. I'm not sore. Anyway, they produced smartphones and tablets right before their demise, running its own operating system called WebOS. Now, what I didn't know back then was that WebOS was actually being licensed to other companies as well. So other companies can manufacture their own smartphones running the WebOS software. And that's why in this article by Engadget, we're taking a look at a device called WindsorNot, the 4-inch WebOS smartphone that never saw the light of day. So apparently this is one of those cancelled WebOS products, and apparently they canned it at a point where the hardware was actually fully fleshed out, but the software still required some tweaks, which is why when members of the WebOS Nation forums laid their hands on this prototype, it was actually an almost ready for production model. Interestingly, the device actually came with a 4-inch screen, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point of time, I don't think screens of those sizes were that common. So yeah, I guess WebOS and its associated devices were always a little bit too far ahead. At least that's what I feel, coming from, the standpoint of a fan. But yeah, if you like me have an unnatural obsession with Palm and WebOS, you might want to check out this article, which I will link you in the video description. So moving away from all this and taking a look at something pretty new that's recently surfaced on the web. If you've actually heard of XKCD, it is actually a web comic strip that, has daily comics. However, one of their more recent exploits, which I believe has been around for about a month, is actually this live comic. So one day, XKCD released comic number 1190, and it started out kinda unassuming, I guess. And it actually took a while for people to realize that this was a comic that was going to be updated at intervals. In fact, at half-hour intervals. It's been over a month and this comic is still being updated, and I believe right now it's actually going at hourly intervals, though I might be wrong. So yeah, this comic is still developing, it's garnering a lot of attention, but I don't know if it's very evident what this comic is actually about just yet. But yeah, I'm very interested to see where this storyline goes, and for those of you who want to find out more, because I'm not really able to, explain this very well, hop down to the link in the video description. There's actually a wiki made specifically for this project. You will be able to find a backlog of all the old frames. So yeah, you'll be able to see what's been going on. You'll be able to follow up on what's going to come out on that page. It's actually quite a smart idea to have a comic that just refreshes itself and carries on in real time. Someone has actually made an animated GIF of all the frames so far, so you will be able to actually watch it like an animation, though you might miss some things because there are some panels that actually have speech. But apart from those particular frames, most of the other frames actually look fine when played back as a GIF. So yeah, that will be a quick way for you to catch up. As mentioned, the story is still ongoing. I have no idea what direction it's going to take. But yeah, why not just hop in and take a look. And that's it, that's all the articles we have for today. So to continue from the beginning of the episode, yes, this is the anniversary edition of Highlight Sundays. I dare say this is the first time I've actually had a show extend this long. As far as I can remember, perhaps in the past when I did Trivia Treasure Trove, that lasted nearly a year as well, I guess. But well, I think Highlight Sundays is the first show to actually properly last a year. Not counting a couple of breaks in between, I think I have maybe 45 to 47 episodes, I guess. Not the full 52, but oh well. So I'm very happy to have gone this far, and in celebration, well, not really, but I guess today I decided to try shooting this in 1080p. So for those of you who have been watching my videos in HD, I guess this is a little bit of a step up. This is a trial. I've already recorded over 20 minutes because I am not confident. But yeah, I've recorded over 20 minutes. I'm going to try and cut this down and see if this adds a considerable amount of stress or waiting time to the entire editing cycle. And if things are okay, I might start recording in 1080p from this point onwards. Now, as mentioned in the vlog segment last week, well, I have my exams coming right up. So I've actually spent the past week catching up on Portal 2. Revision. Catching up on revision. So yeah, next week I have my exams coming up, which is why there will be no Wednesday video. Friday minis will come to you as normal. In fact, I actually shot that last week. It's actually already uploaded, but of course it will only come out on Friday. Past next week, basically I'm done with all my school stuff. I will be able to, put my full attention back into YouTube. So yeah, I guess you can look forward to that. But for now, that's it. That's all there is for this episode of Highlight Sundays. If you have any comments, queries, or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out the official Twitter account for this channel at twitter.com/0612tv. As always, I appreciate every like, favorite, and subscription you give me. But until next time, you're watching 0612TV.